yeah. Is it Saturday already? George Lucas had a $1 billion TV show that he had to scrap because obviously they couldn't afford a $1 billion TV show, but sold the company to Disney back in 2012. And now, 13 years later, the details of this $1 billion TV show have been revealed. And oh my God, I really hope this still happens someday, somewhere down the line. But also, Mara Jade coming to canon, coming into the Mando verse. We've talked about this before. This is not deja vu. You did not click on an old live stream. This is new. This is today. This is, what's the day? March 8th. It's March 8th, chat. It's a Saturday. And we're going to talk about all of it. Of course, Andor Season 2 is right down the road as well. So let's dive into all of it. What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing on this fine Saturday afternoon? We've made it through yet another news week in Star Wars, and this one was quite a crazy one. From Andor's special look trailer, which blew fans' freaking minds with connections to Vader and all this crazy stuff, to now George Lucas having a $1 billion TV show that was scrapped and all the details now being revealed, to even crazier Mara Jade possibly coming to Star Wars canon. We got a lot to talk about today. A lot to talk about today. But before we do any of that, let's say hi to everybody in this chat, shall we? Let's do that. Jessica, what is up? Another Mike who loves Star Wars in the house. Brandon Baker, how we doing? Dom, what is up? WUV Grad, how we doing? Ron, what is up? JC in the house. The Galactic Cantina, how we doing? Holly, what is up? Dustin Kennedy in the house. John, how we doing? Rachel, what is up? Joe, how we doing? The Mind Lucas, what is up? I Haja in the house. Chris, how we doing? Navarro, what is up? Jason, how we doing? Skywalker Academy, what is up? If I missed you, you know the deal. Just yell at me in the chat. Let's give everybody a nice little...
Hello there.
General Kenobi.
Okay. Inked Trooper, what's up? Oh, we got a new member. See, this is how I like to start the streams. I got 2 super chats to get to, 1 new membership to get to. This is greatness. This is Saturday live streams. There's nothing better than it, chat. Okay, but let's get to it. Okay. The Galactic Cantina. Welcome to the people who love Star Wars. Oh my God. Welcome to the people who love Star Wars, the Galactic Cantina at the Padawan level. I appreciate that quite a bit. Memberships, super chats, keep the lights on over here. And if you are a member, of course, you get that cool little thing next to your name in the chat. And you get instant access to a members-only portion of the Discord and members-only live streams and just awesomeness. You know, you want to be awesome? Become a member. But I appreciate it. Okay, so... And I missed 2 super chats as well. Let's. This is how we start stream. This is how I like to start a stream. Oh, one was a super sticker. That's freaking hilarious. From Darth Plagueis Lives with a very generous $5 super sticker. That's insane. And 50 Thunder with a very generous $2 holla says, been drinking, but I'm thinking of you. Well, thank you, 50 Thunder. I appreciate that. What you've been drinking. Blue milk, I hope. But with that being said, now that we're so off topic, let's talk about this. Okay. This George Lucas TV show, $1 billion. That number does not get thrown around very lightly. So let's talk about it. Brett, remind me about that once we get through this, because I did see that, and we'll get to it, okay? We'll get to it. All right, let's do it. So, first things first, let's go to the first place I saw this, and that was here, I believe. Yeah, go on. Yeah. So the first people to be on top of this was the Gizmondo.com. So George Lucas' scrapped Star Wars show would have cost billions. They say billions. I just said 1 billion. Billions of dollars to make. Producer Rick McCallum. We're going to go with McCallum. talks about the mythic Star Wars Underworld TV project. Give me a 1 into the chat if you've ever heard of this Underworld show. Give me a 1 into the chat if you've heard of this Underworld show. It's not something new. We're not talking about something new. It's something that's been around for a long, long time. Most Star Wars fans, like I see a bunch of ones in the chat right now, know about this project. But the details and actual specifics are now being released because a lot of scripts for this show were already written. It was almost ready to go, and it would have cost billions of dollars. So let's take a look at this. In the world of Star Wars, one of the biggest what-ifs is Star Wars Underworld. That was the name given to the television show George Lucas and a team at Lucasfilm worked on for years before ultimately scrapping it. So they worked on this project for years before scrapping it. We've always heard that there were dozens of scripts written for the show. Dozens. When you look at the Disney Plus landscape right now, you look at the shows that exist on Disney Plus, they're 8 episodes each. They're 12 episodes each when we look at Andor season 2. Dozens of episodes. You're talking multiple seasons, if not really, really, really long seasons. Probably, I don't know, 16, 24 episodes like they used to be. I don't know. Hold on, we got a super chat. Another Mike who loves Star Wars with a very generous $2 holla says, flooding you with super chat love. I appreciate that, Mike. I really, really do. But now that I've been so rudely interrupted, let's get back to the article. God. No, I appreciate it, Mike. Okay. But dozens of scripts were written, and they worked on this thing for years before it was ultimately scrapped. And this is, of course, money reasons, but we'll get to it. This would have been set on Coruscant, showing a whole new side of the galaxy far, far away, but little is known beyond that. So it would have been the underworld of Star Wars, which we know we've seen in the Clone Wars. It's been explored a little bit. We get some of that bounty hunter stuff and sort of the crime and criminal underworld of Coruscant in the Clone Wars a little bit, but not nearly what we would have seen in this show. In a new interview, though, with Rick McCallum, we're going with McCallum, who was George Lucas's producer at the time. He worked on all the prequel movies and all that stuff. He shared some new details about the long-lost but never forgotten project. One of the biggest things is that McCallum actually tried to budget out what the show would cost, and the lowest he ever got to was $40 million per episode. So he tried to budget it out to make it work, to try to make this show work so that they could actually create the Star Wars Underworld series that George Lucas wanted to do, to make it worthwhile. And he could never get it low enough because he could only get it to $40 million per episode. $40 million times 60 episodes equals $2.4 billion. That's crazy. 60 episodes? I'm going to have to change the title of this. I'm changing the title of the stream, chat. I'm changing the title. Hang on. We got to change the title of the stream. It can't just say $1 billion TV show. It's a $2.4 billion TV show. $2.4 billion TV show. Fixed it. Okay. And by the way, chat, smash a freaking like on this stream if you have not already. Okay. Where were we? $2.4 billion. And you're talking about, this isn't now $2.4 billion. This isn't 2025. You're talking at least 15 years ago. At least. And that's insane. Like the Rings of Power show cost $1 billion to make. Now. And that visually is so insane. So you're talking about George Lucas pretty much making 10 movies. Pretty much. 10 movies in a TV show format. No wonder no one wanted to make it, but it sounds great. Here's McCallum thanks to the Young Indie Chronicle podcast. So this was the interview. We'll get to it in a second. He said this. I think he had over 60 scripts. Third draft scripts. Over 60. So probably over $2.4 billion. McCullum says it was says in this the clip above, again, the most wonderful writers in the world on it. And again, we created exactly the same experience for everybody at Skywalker Ranch. And again, just a phenomenal group of talent. So he had this massive group of people working on this show for years for it to go nowhere. Lee, what's up? To go nowhere. Okay. And these were dark. They were sexy. They were violent. They were just absolutely wonderful. Wonderful, complicated, challenging. I mean, it would have blown up the whole Star Wars universe, and Disney definitely would have never offered George to buy it, as he laughs. But it's one of the greatest disappointments of our life. That's a pretty bold statement there. But the problem was each episode was bigger than the films. So the lowest budget I could ever get it down to with the technology that existed then was $40 million per episode. He's saying that every episode was bigger than the films, the prequel trilogy. Are you kidding me? I understand making Coruscant in general probably costs quite a pretty penny. Think about it, Coruscant's this massive, huge city landscape. Clearly, it costs a lot. $40 million per episode. You look at the budget of Andor, and we talked about it quite a bit because it's $300 million. That's a lot of money. When you dwindle that down to 12 episodes, well, somebody did the budget for all the episodes, and it was like $600 and something million for the 2 seasons. And that narrowed down to about $80 million per 3 episodes. So you're really thinking around, I guess, close to, but not even, 27, 28, 29-ish million dollars per episode. $28 million per episode. That's nowhere close to $40 million per episode. Not even close. And we're talking at least 15 years ago. Now, what he brings up here, which is pretty interesting, is that Disney definitely would have never offered George to buy it. Buy the scripts, that is. Buy the scripts for the show. Buy the show, Star Wars, The Underworld. Now, the reason is because it would cost so much to make. However, my question to you, chat, and I'm going to put it up in a poll in the chat, is this. By the way, if you haven't smashed a freaking like on this stream, I don't know what the hell you're doing. Please do that. Do you want Star Wars Underworld to still be made? Today, do you want Star Wars Underworld to be created? Think about how much money they're putting into a show like Andor. If there are really, truly 60 scripts ready to go. Now, I'm guessing that those scripts might have to be altered here and there just because the canon of Star Wars has changed over the years quite a bit. And I'm sure some of those scripts have some characters that either are dead now or whatever. I don't know. But 60 scripts from George Lucas, the creator himself, ready to go, ready to be made into a massive show. Not only will you be able to create an Underworld show on Coruscant, which is just cool within itself, but you get to plaster George Lucas's name across the title, written by George Lucas. And fans would eat that up. They would, absolutely. Fans would absolutely love this because it's written by the creator. And that hasn't happened since he sold the company. Like, he's never working on the projects for one reason or another. And if they wanted the biggest hit on their hands for Star Wars fans, that rhymes, then they would do this. Because there's already 60 scripts. You got Dave Filoni, who's George Lucas's like apprentice, so you could just have him be like, hey, George, you know that old Star Wars Underworld show you're working on? Oh yeah, of course, Dave. Yeah, we're thinking about doing that. You know, we'll have you on. You can be a producer on it. You can do whatever. And it'll be, you know, I don't really want to produce. You don't have to do any. Your scripts are already done. We could just. Oh, okay, fine, and then make the greatest show of all time. A $2 billion show that will make you far more than that in return when Star Wars fans find out that the creator of Star Wars, George Lucas, is back working on the next Star Wars show. And here's the thing. You're not spending $2 billion per season. You're spending $2 billion total across 60 episodes. And 60 episodes is really like at least 6 seasons of 10, let's say, for example. But I'm sure they'll dwindle it down to, I don't know, 40 episodes, and then you'll have at least 3-4 seasons, maybe 5. But it seems like a no-brainer to me. But tell me what you think in the chat. Is this something that should happen? Is this show that's already pretty much done, pretty much already there, 60 scripts completed? Should it be made? Should it be created? And while you tell me, let's keep reading because this is pretty dang interesting. Okay. So about 40 million per episode, which is insane. Even in today's world, probably 30 years after McCullum. Oh, 30 years after McCullum budgeted this. Okay. 40 million an episode is still a lot of money. Yeah, to say the least. Most of the bigger shows that you can think of, like Game of Thrones, The Walking Dead, etc., usually cost between $10 million to $20 million per episode. And that's still considered very, very high. Some of the most expensive have happened recently, with Netflix rumored to have spent close to $30 million per episode on the new Stranger Things season. Whoa, that's crazy. And Amazon reportedly spending $60 million on each Rings of Power episode. Yeah, that's sort of what we're talking about. Rings of Power is a very, very expensive show. They're really spending their time to make it visually stunning. And I mean, it works. The show is incredible. Swagger like us, what's up? Rose, how we doing? Okay. So 60 million per episode. So for a big Star Wars show, 40 million is not really out of the question today. But it was certainly out of the question then. Also, The Mandalorian cost significantly less than that. Now, there is probably ways now with the volume and all this other stuff to cut down that budget. I'm sure, like McCullum said at the time, that's what the technology they had warranted, a $40 million budget. Now, I'm sure things could be dwindled down a little bit here and there. And it'll probably be closer to 30 million, I would hope. But even still, you have Star Wars, the biggest franchise in the entire world. I mean, other than like Pokemon, I guess. But the biggest movie show franchise in the entire world. And you got other shows like Stranger Things and Rings of Power spending more money to create better content. So shouldn't Star Wars be going all in on something as huge as a Star Wars Underworld show? Think about what you could do with an Underworld show. It doesn't have to fully take place on Coruscant. It could easily tell us the story of all the crime syndicates, the Hutts, the Crimson Dawn, the Pikes, the Black Sun, everybody. It could tell the story of the entire criminal underworld while also telling bounty hunter stories with Boba Fett or a Singh or anybody. Dengar, Bosk. It can tell the whole entire story of the Star Wars underworld, a side of the story we never get to see in the original trilogy or the prequel trilogy or the sequel trilogy. We really don't get any of that. Even in The Mandalorian, which is more so underworldy, we don't really see much of it. We don't see Coruscant. Well, we do, but not like that. So you could use the original trilogy time period, a place where we never go, Coruscant, in the original trilogy, and use its underworld to tell an incredible story that already exists and has already been written by the creator of Star Wars himself, George Lucas. It sounds like an absolute no-brainer. Hang on. We got another super chat. Another Mike who loves Star Wars with another very generous $2 holla says execute order 60 scripts. That's pretty good. That's genius. This is why we have you guys around. You know, this is why I keep you guys around. Okay, chat. There's a reason I do these live streams. It's just for funny jokes like that. You know, you keep me amused. Okay, but I appreciate it, Mike. I really, really do. Super chats keep the lights on over here. Okay, guys, it's been a joke for a while. This live sign has been out. The super chats aren't coming in like they used to. No, okay, I'm kidding. But it will be in the mail, hopefully at some point next week. I don't know. We'll see. But let's keep going. So yeah, The Mandalorian does not cost anywhere close to that kind of money. However, for more on the Star Wars Underworld, check out the piece that I wrote a few years back with test footage. We're about to get to that. But yeah, so blah, 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 blah. So let's get to the next article here. This one's from Forbes. Actually, no, we're going to... Yeah, okay, we'll get to this. So we'll read this one, and then this article that I want to get to last has some test footage, if you will, that looks pretty damn wild. So they actually had test footage for this show. That's how far they got. They weren't just like, oh, this is a concept. This is just an idea that we have. Star Wars Underworld. For sure, why not? No, they wrote 60 scripts, spent years of a team full of writers. They even created test footage for the show. Like, this went really close to being a real thing, but it never happened. But let's read this. George Lucas's scrapped Star Wars TV show reportedly cost $40 million per episode. This one's coming from Forbes. You may have heard the tragedy of George Lucas the Wise, where before he ended up selling Star Wars to Disney, he had it in mind that he was going to make a sprawling Star Wars TV series. Now, of course, we have many of those on Disney+, but an interview on the Young Indie Chronicles podcast with producer Rick McCullum, who was working with Lucasfilm, or with George Lucas, I guess, on the series back in the early 2000s, now has detailed just how insane it would have been. Just listen to this. Here's some bullet points, if you will. My God! Hang on, super chat. Another Mike, I Hodja with a very generous $2 holla says, Mike, the execute order 60 scripts was me. Okay, well, I appreciate you clearing that up. Sorry. Oh, I said Mike. My fault. Thank you, I Hodja. I appreciate that. Super chats, memberships keep the lights on over here. Now that I've been so rudely interrupted. Oh my God, another super chat? Oh, can't a man just read an article anymore? Yeah. Okay, 50 Thunder with a very generous $10 holla says, Mike, I've been drinking today. Okay, that seems fun. Hopefully blue milk. I've hurried home via train. Good. In my brother's car to get to the chat. You guys are amazing. Thank you all. No, 50 Thunder. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, let's get back to this article, shall we? So here are some bullet points. Anybody else? Anybody? Before I go back to the article, anybody else? Here are some bullet points for what this show could look like, or what it was going to look like. The show, Star Wars Underworld, was supposed to be a more dark, sexy, and violent version of Star Wars. I wonder how violent they'd really go. Like, George Lucas always intended Star Wars to be for kids. But then again, in the Clone Wars, he's got Darth Maul chopping people's heads off. And he's got some really, really dark, brutal scenes. So I wonder what that dark tone really means. Like, The Mandalorian has a darker tone. It's got Grogu in it, but it's still got that darker tone to it. Even like Andor has more of a darker tone. I feel like it would be along the lines of Andor. If that was my guess, I guess. Yeah, it'd probably be more along the lines of the Andor series. That's just my guess. But yeah. So there were a full 60 scripts written. 60 at least. He says over for the series. Well before it was potentially going to become a reality. So well before that. Oh my God, you guys are absolutely insane today. I Hodja with a $5 holla says, can't believe Mike is giving my credit to Alderaan people in my chat. May the force of interruptions be with you. Thank you, I Hodja. I appreciate that. And Darth Plagueis lives with a very generous $5 holla as well. Says, what are the chances this could still happen? Honestly, I don't know. I really don't. Like, if this becomes a big, huge wave through the social medias, if Star Wars fans latch onto this news of there being 60 scripts for a Star Wars Underworld show, and that they're ready to go, and George Lucas wrote them, and fans really latch onto that idea of it being that cool. I mean, Star Wars fans, I think, can accomplish anything. You look at the bad, you look at the good. They've done some pretty bad stuff, like cancel season 2 of The Acolyte, and they've done some pretty great stuff, like cast Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka Tano. So I think the Star Wars fandom has more power than they give themselves credit for. And I think if we wanted to accomplish this, if we wanted George Lucas's Star Wars Underworld to become a reality, we could do it. Absolutely, we could do it. You just make it the talk of the town for at least a couple weeks, and you'll draw Lucasfilm's attention. They're on social media all the time. They come into my chat sometimes. Shout out to you guys. You're the best. Keep doing what you're doing. Star Wars Underworld show, please. Now, but they're always on social media. They're always watching. So if we get like Star Wars Underworld trending on Twitter, trending online, then that becomes in their view lenses. It becomes right in front of their faces. It comes over the desk of Dave Filoni and Kathleen Kennedy, and they say, maybe we should do this. But right now, as it stands, this is not happening. This show is not in development. It's not, no, it's not. However, we forget how powerful the Star Wars fandom can be and how much control we truly have over what projects we get. Not like entirely. We can't just be like, give us a Babu Frick show, and everybody's like, yeah, Babu Frick show, and it becomes like a meme or whatever. No, that doesn't work. I'm talking like we actually got to show them that we want this project. Honestly, if it truly exists the way that we think it's going to exist, if it's 60 scripts really already have been written and are somewhere over at Lucasfilm, and they've done this whole writing room for multiple years, like, then it should be an easy project for them to go in and finish. That's pretty much it. You're finishing it. You're making the show itself. The scripts are already there. You already have George Lucas's name written all over it. And that's a huge sell. So it's fully dependent on how badly do the Star Wars fans really want this show. That's what I think. That's what I think. But tell me what you think in the chat. Do you think this will ever happen, chat? Will the Star Wars Underworld show ever really happen? And also, Darth Plagueis Lives said with their $5 holler, also still high off that Andor trailer. Me too. Absolutely me too. Shout out to Star Wars Jedi Podcast. I went on there last night, actually. Yeah, last night. And we talked about, and we broke down the Andor trailer again. It's so damn good. I mean, it's so good. We'll watch it a little bit towards the end of the stream because it's that good. And break it down a little bit here. But it's so good. Yeah. Oh my God, you guys are feeling extra generous on this fine Saturday afternoon. I appreciate it. Mind to Lucas with the $5 holla says, if the darker tone of Andor Season 2 does well, perhaps then we could see this. Interesting. Well, here's the deal. Season 1 of Andor was very well received from the fans who watched it. Problem with Andor Season 1 is that not many people watched it. That's the big issue. But having said that, if Season 2 does perform very, very well, and it again has that darker tone that Season 1 had, then maybe you're right, Lucas. Maybe this will send a message to Lucasfilm that the darker tone of Star Wars, not everything has to be the darker tone, but the darker tone of Star Wars can work. And maybe this Underworld show could work as well. And when you look at it this way, they currently have no other live action projects ready to go. Andor Season 2 comes out in a couple months, or next month, I guess. Ahsoka Season 2 comes out next year, and that's it for live action Star Wars shows. We don't have any other announced. So this one could be one of the next. Maybe. Andor equals 4 mini films. Yeah, it does. It's the what do we call it? The quadlogy? Quadlogy. Yes, thank you. Quadlogy. But Mind Lucas also said, I don't see that type of money being spent on a live action series. Well, Lucas, it already is. Andor is already getting sort of that kind of money. Not $40 million, but somewhat close to it. Around 27-ish million per episode. 25 maybe. I don't know. Around that number per episode. So you're getting closer and closer to 40 million. Now, 40 million is a big jump from there. But again, like I said, you're talking 15, 20 years ago that they tried to budget this out with the technology that they had then. Now, the technology is so much greater that I'm sure a lot of that budget could be dwindled down. Yeah. Any other super chats? Before I go back to this article? Before I get so rudely interrupted again? No, I'm kidding. Okay, let's keep going. So, 60 scripts ready to go. The show was meant to connect to a video game called Star Wars 1313. Okay, so this is what we haven't really talked about yet. Give me a 1 into the chat if you've heard of Star Wars 1313. So this video game was going to be, again, about the underworld of Star Wars. You're going to play as a bounty hunter in the world, Boba Fett, in the world of the underworld. So another Star Wars project that ended up being canceled, where George Lucas offered direct, often incredibly tough feedback to implement input about its direction. One day, famously, he said that the game would simply star Boba Fett when they were a ways into it already. So the coolest part about this would be that this $2 billion show would have a video game that pretty much goes along with it. This game would pretty much be the show to an extent. And that's pretty wild. The most eye-popping aspect of this Underworld show was that it was reported to cost $40 million per episode. $20 million per episode series are on the higher end now, today. It's also important to keep in mind that this was the early 2000s. To get a sense of George Lucas's idea of scale here, John Williams was supposed to score the entire series. So if you don't know who John Williams is, I don't know what the hell you've been doing. Living under a rock, I guess. John Williams is the guy who scored all 9 Star Wars main films. Well, of course, the original 6 for George Lucas. All the greatest soundtracks you've probably ever heard are John Williams, with the exception of I guess, newer soundtracks. From Star Wars to Indiana Jones to E.T. to Jurassic Park to Harry Potter to Superman to Jaws to whatever. You name it, it's him. He's the GOAT. And he was going to score the entire show. That's pretty wild. HBO was the only network even possible to entertain this, but there was ultimately just no way at that price. A weird twist was that George Lucas was set to have a meeting with HBO CEO Chris Albertcher at Skywalker Ranch, but a day before, he was arrested for assault, and HBO later forced him to resign. Wow, I did not know that. That's crazy. But there you have it. They were going to have a meeting about this show. Star Wars on HBO. Think about how different this history of Star Wars would be. If this show got off the ground with HBO, it might be that Star Wars never gets sold to Disney. We never get a sequel trilogy. We never get The Mandalorian. We never get Ahsoka. We never get Rebels. We never get any of this stuff. It would just be a Underworld show, and that's probably it, because George Lucas would retire. And then maybe he would sell it to Disney at that point, but I don't know. It would be a very, very, very different world we live in here. But he said, oh, we already read that. The rest is history. George Lucas sold Star Wars for $4 billion to Disney in 2012, who has already made far, far more than that with the property. I think I read something before. I don't even know if it was true, but Star Wars made that $4 billion back before The Force Awakens even released in 2015. Like off just merchandise alone. Like they've made so much money off of Star Wars. which makes it look like a fire sale. So when they purchased Marvel for, again, $4 billion back in 2009. Yeah, so Disney, I mean, now, of course, is this mega company, but before 2009, they didn't own Marvel or Star Wars, which currently now are their two biggest IPs by far. Would I love to see this show come to life? Well, sure. After the prequels, would I believe George Lucas would make a giant budget TV series worth $4 million per episode? I certainly have my doubts about that, but it seems everyone else did too. And that's sort of just why it didn't come to fruition. Pretty much, George Lucas didn't want to waste all the money in the world to create a show and bankrupt his company. That's pretty much the end of the day what it is. However, now Disney owns the company. Disney has the money, and it's a possibility that this show can become a reality with the money that Disney currently has. So, with that, let's go watch some concept art, or whatever they call some test footage, as they put it, for this show. Okay, there's 10 minutes of this. There's 10 minutes of this. Now, we're not probably going to watch the whole thing. We'll just sort of go through it a little bit. But the fact of the matter is, there is 10 minutes of this. Are you kidding me? It's not only that they have the scripts for this show. It's not only that George Lucas was about to have a meeting with HBO to make this show. They got so far as to make test footage, 10 minutes of it, that looks this good.
Surveillance droid reports rebel activity in the area.
Something is not adding up here, chat. This can't possibly be real. Footage has leaked over the years about Star Wars Outlaws. Despite its cancellation, test footage for Star Wars Underworld exists, or sorry, not Outlaws, Underworld, exists, and we have embedded it below. This is it. This just feels like, what? And there's even a demo. There's even a demo for 1313. Okay, we got to watch this. To me, it just feels way too good to be true almost. Like, how the hell did this exist and we not get this show? This footage has been available for a minute. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it. Give me a 1 into the chat if you've seen this, because I haven't.
You two move along. This area is threat level orange. Move along.
So stormtroopers mean that this is obviously it's original trilogy time, or at least
Hello.
before or after.
I was sent from Alistair. Thank you. Thank you. We could not have done this without you.
What is going on? All right, let's fast forward through it a little bit. This seems to be... What the heck? Okay, I mean... They even have the Wilhelm scream in there. This is not test footage, chat. This is pretty much the freaking episode. What is going on here? Oh, we got a super chat. Hang on. This is crazy. Lee with a very generous $5 holla says this is not the interruption you were looking for. Thank you, Lee. I appreciate that. Sorry. I was going to send more cash, but I'm saving for Star Wars Celebration merch. Signings are too expensive. Don't worry about it, Lee. You don't have to send me any money, but I appreciate it anyway. And 50 Thunder with a very generous $10 holla says, Mike, it must be time for an impression. Okay, interesting. How about an impression of an Imperial guy? Who's the Imperial guy who says the amazing line, "You rebel scum," in Return of the Jedi bunker scene? I can't thank you enough for your channel. Well, I can't thank you enough for your super chat, 50 Thunder. You rebel scum from the Imperial. Okay, I'll do that in a second. Let me finish off this test footage thing. Let's finish this off. Oh, to be continued. What the hell was that? There's still 5 more minutes of this. Stage 2.
Banking in. A
little faster.
Banking in. Hovering, turning.
A little faster now. Drop in.
Dropping.
Stay. And car.
Fans all the way.
Fans.
Fans.
Okay, and kill it.
Huh, this is how they made it.
And Colleen.
This is crazy.
Second team is arriving from the south.
Best soldiers. We will also need a ship.
This console has been compromised. Lock down the area and search the vehicle.
This is crazy. Okay, the fact is that they have this screen testing. That's insane. They also have 60 scripts ready to go. They have literally everything you could possibly imagine for a show to be ready to go. Now, yes, you'll probably have to rework the scripts here and there. Like I mentioned before, some characters that maybe he threw in there don't exist anymore, are dead, whatever, by the time of the show. I don't know. But you have 60 scripts written by George Lucas himself, right, and others, of course. But George Lucas's name is all across those scripts. It seems like a no-brainer to me to make this show and make just billions upon billions of dollars. It makes sense to me. But tell me in the chat, what do we think? Should this show be made now? Should this show, after all these years, finally be created? Tell me in the chat. And as you do that, let me look up You Rebel Scum. Oh, here we go.
Great! You rebel scum.
Nice.
You rebel scum.
You rebel scum.
You rebel scum.
You rebel scum. For some reason, I just didn't even remember this line at all. But I appreciate it, 50 Thunder. I really, really do. Super chats, memberships, keep the lights on over here. So yes, are we on board with yes, the show, or no, the show? By the way, this poll that's been up for quite a while now says, as 82% of you saying yes, you do still want this Star Wars Underworld series. And honestly, to me, having read all these details, having read these 3 articles and watched the test footage and all that stuff, it seems like a no-brainer, especially after Andor. Because like we talked about already, Andor Season 1 and Season 2 have that darker feel. It could be even darker than Andor, but Andor is going to show us Coruscant quite a bit. We see it in the trailer for Season 2, the special look that we got this week. We saw Coruscant in Season 1 a fair bit with Mon Mothma and Luthen, but we're going to see it a lot more in Season 2. And the ability to create Coruscant and make it look badass and cool now would be so awesome in a Star Wars Underworld world show. So it seems to me like a no-brainer. However, we have to see if the Star Wars fandom will react the same way. Let's find out. Nah, I'm good. Why not, Robert? Why not? Bryce Dallas Howard going to be Mara, LOL? I hope not. No. No, Mandalorian is the new Underworld. Scripts for the show were repurposed, though, for Rogue One and Solo concepts started as scripts for this show. I mean, maybe, sure, but that doesn't change the fact that there are 60 scripts ready for this show. I get that the Mandalorian is sort of the underworld, but it's not. Like, he's a bounty hunter who finds this kid and then goes off on this adventure with the kid. If anything, Boba Fett is more of an underworld show than the Mandalorian. At least the book of Boba Fett tells the stories of the crime syndicates during the time in Star Wars. This show would take place during the original trilogy, or at least before it by slightly, I don't know. But that would make it even all that more complex and all that more cool. Because you're talking about Coruscant during the time in the galaxy where we don't see Coruscant, at least that much. It would be insane to see Andor Season 2 set up a Underworld show. Because think about it. We're talking about all these characters from Andor Season 2, like a Bix, like a Luthen, etc., that are likely to die in Season 2 because they are not in anything else. So many characters that aren't in Rogue One, that aren't in the original trilogy, that should die in Season 2 because they're not in those projects. They could go off and do something else. They could go off and be stars of a Star Wars Underworld show. Like, there are switches that you can make. Like, if Bix is not a character in the Underworld show, because she probably wasn't because she didn't exist at the time, then you could have her be one. Now. Like, you don't have to kill her off in Andor Season 2. You could set up the next show. You could have Omega be a part of it, because she, of course, is now a main character in the Star Wars timeline. She didn't exist before The Bad Batch. So that's what I'm saying. These scripts, although they exist and although they are probably close to being finished, they can be altered to reintroduce or introduce new characters or characters that we already know and love, like an Omega, like a Bix, like a Asajj Ventress, like a, I don't know, anybody. Anybody. Kira. The fact that we got a Willow sequel, nobody wanted that before Star Wars, before a Star Wars Underworld project is a crime. Well, Willow's a little bit different. It's a completely different franchise, but yeah, I guess. Yeah. I'd like to see the 1313 show with Daniel Logan as Boba Fett. Well, 1313 was a video game. I mean, if they were to turn that into a show, it'd be crazy. A Boba Fett show, prequel show. Well, the problem with that is they've already made a Boba Fett show, but yeah. Yeah. Mark says Star Wars Underworld was canceled because it would have cost $50 million per episode, $40 million, but yes. If it does get made, they better budget it better. Oh, it would absolutely be budgeted better. The $40 million budget per episode is something that was calculated by Rick McCullum 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago. So now it would probably be a lot less than that with all the technology that they have. At least that's the hope. Yeah. I recall seeing Blade Runner when it first debuted in theaters and said it looked like Star Wars. That's true, I guess. On Earth. That's how George Lucas changed the industry. Yeah, I guess. I mean, Coruscant is much like Blade Runner. I get it, kind of, for sure. I was thinking they were going to sign with Pedro and K2. Wait, what? Oh, going to a signing with Pedro and K2. But then I realized it will be the guy and not actually the K2 droid. LOL. Oh, okay. Sure. Andor, Acolyte, Ahsoka are all derivative of the Underworld, or what the Underworld was going to be. In a way, I guess, but not really. I mean, you're talking about the Underworld of Coruscant with stormtroopers and all this Underworld stuff with the criminal syndicates and bounty hunters. Ahsoka doesn't have any of that. The Acolyte doesn't have any of that. Andor does to a little bit, but not really. Stanley, what's up? How we doing? It would be cool if the Sean Levy movie was a movie about bounty hunters. I mean, it could be. We have no idea what the Sean Levy movie is going to be about. The fact that it takes place 5 years after The Rise of Skywalker still doesn't make any sense to me, so maybe. Maybe. Mike Ford says, I tend to get weary of big budgets. Water Waterworld comes to mind. I have no idea what Waterworld is, but yeah, I mean, big budgets can be a big old failure, and that's a big risk that you have to take. But with Star Wars, I feel like it's not that big of a risk, especially with a project like this that's already been written by George Lucas. Like, it seems like a no-brainer to me. Oh, 50 Thunder with a very generous one gifted membership. Wow. We haven't had a gifted membership in a long, long time, 50 Thunder. I appreciate that. Oh, and Sklee Bean wins it. Sklee Bean, welcome to the people who love Star Wars. Welcome to the people who love Star Wars. Sklee Bean, I appreciate that. And 50 Thunder, I appreciate that. Sklee Bean, welcome. Yeah, we haven't had gifted memberships in a long time. I forgot that those even existed, honestly. There you go. Is that... Okay. Sure. Is that a dabbing emoji? I think it is. Okay. Solo: A Star Wars Story was an unexpected flop in the box office. Big budgets can also be big risks with Star Wars. Absolutely. And I think with Solo, they thought they had a guaranteed success, as they put it, because it's Han Solo. It's a beloved character. Why not tell the origin story of Han Solo? That should be a big success. There's a lot that goes into what happened with Solo. You could say that it was the first movie after The Last Jedi. It was released at the same time as Infinity War. Like, it's got a lot going against it. And a lot that sort of goes into why it didn't make a lot of money. But, yeah, I mean, not everything is a guaranteed success. Absolutely. Like, even Andor Season 2 is not guaranteed. Not at all. Waterworld was a Kevin Costner film with a big, expensive splash of the 90s flop. Nice. Never heard of it. Never heard of it. Okay. Star Wars changed everything. There was nothing like it on that scale until decades later. It's the reason that drive-ins died out and theaters became popular via the blockbuster event aspect. Oh, absolutely. I mean, Star Wars continually changes the industry. But when it first released, it was like nothing ever before. Like, the only other space movies, or big space movies, I guess, were stuff like 2001, Space Odyssey. And that was so slow. Like, all the space scenes were like... And then Star Wars comes around with George Lucas, who loves racing and fast cars and all that stuff. And now the space scenes are like... It's like... You know? It's like this awesome, cool fight scene in space. And it's very different from all the other stuff that came before it that was just like... So it changed the game. It changed the game in many aspects, special effects wise and storytelling wise and all that stuff. But then the prequels come around and he changes the game yet again, making fully CGI characters, green screen, blue screen, all that stuff, crazy lightsaber duels. Then comes Disney, and honestly, they changed the game as well. You look at what the Mandalorian's doing with the volume and all that stuff. They really take pride in Lucasfilm always furthering the industry, as they always should. So, yeah, that is a big deal. I was thinking about 5 years after The Rise of Skywalker that the Force may be self-correcting in that time. Similar, we could be getting a new dark side user in the galaxy during that time. Maybe. I'm very interested to see what news we get of Sean Levy's Star Wars movie at Star Wars Celebration, since it's going to be the next Star Wars movie to go into production. So maybe we'll get some information about what the movie's going to be about, but we'll see. Yeah. Can I get some good cuts follow orders in the chat, please? Bumper. Okay. Where was I? I think we need another poll for what? For what? I saw Solo once in theaters because I didn't care for it at the time. It's grown on me over the years, though. Yeah, Solo's kind of like that. I mean, I liked it when I watched it in the theaters the first time. I think it's a very underrated Star Wars movie. I don't think it deserved to flop like that. Absolutely. But, yeah. Thanks, Gleebean. I appreciate that. I really, really do. Okay. Let's switch gears a little bit here to the Mara Jade of it all. So if you noticed in the title of today's live stream, it says the George Lucas $2.4 billion show. But also, what the heck? But also, it talks about Mara Jade. So let's talk about Mara Jade for a second, shall we? So give me a 1 into the chat if you remember about, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 maybe weeks ago, we were talking about Mara Jade getting her own show. Do you remember this, chat? Do you remember the Mara Jade show? So let me see if I can find that article. Mara Jade show. No. Oh, here we go. So this was about, how long ago was this? February 14th. Oh, Valentine's Day. So this was almost a month ago. Almost a month ago, we read this article. Star Wars, a Mara Jade TV series rumored to be in the works. Could Zendaya be playing the Emperor's Hand? So that was sort of the big rumor at the time. There's a TV show in development revolving around Mara Jade, a rumor, just a giant rumor. Well, we'd imagine most of her history with Luke will be scrapped. Maybe not. There's still a way to adapt her as the history as the Emperor's Hand. And of course, she can cross paths with Luke, and that will sort of give him more to his exile that we see in The Last Jedi. You guys remember that? Yeah, no Zendaya. I agree with that. I don't think Zendaya would be a great pick for it. However, more news has been thrown onto this fire. As more fuel has been put onto the fire. And that was this announcement. Mara Jade's lightsaber hilt will be released as very limited edition. Mara Jade's lightsaber hilt, which by the way is pretty badass. I don't think I've ever seen it this up close. So take a look at this. The latest lightsaber hilt replica from Disney has been unveiled. It is an exclusive in an exclusive article with comicbook.com. It is revealed that the latest character to have their laser sword recreated will be Mara Jade, a fan favorite character from the expanded universe / Legends continuity. It has also been confirmed that just a lucky few will be able to get their hands on this hilt, as only 3,500 of these will be produced. So only 3,500 of these will be created. That's pretty crazy. Mara Jade Skywalker, after marrying a certain Luke Skywalker, was introduced in The Heir to the Empire by Timothy Zahn. The novel, which also debuted the character of Grand Admiral Thrawn, is credited by kicking off the post-Return of the Jedi storytelling era, which saw the worlds of Star Wars expand into books, comics, and games. Mara Jade was introduced as the Emperor's Hand, Palpatine's personal assassin. After the Emperor's death, she eventually found her way to the light, becoming a key member of Luke's new Jedi Order. This lightsaber hilt has been crafted to show her transition as a character into the light side user and Luke Skywalker's wife. So, the Emperor's Hand limited edition legacy lightsaber set is designed to showcase Mara Jade's transition from the agent of the Empires / Palpatine to an extremely powerful Jedi and wife of Luke Skywalker. The set will include a highly detailed legacy lightsaber hilt, a limited comic book with a variant cover. Jeez, English Mike. Cover from the classic comic Star Wars Mara Jade by the Emperor's Hand, issue number 1. An individual numbered insert, the fancy wooden box packaged So all this stuff comes with it. The fancy box, the comic, issue number 1 with a nice nice cover there, and the lightsaber itself. That's a cool box, actually. So that's what comes with it. And yes, it's a purple lightsaber. Oh, look at that. Chad, how do we get our hands on one of these? Okay, but if you want to get your hands on, oh, well, here we go. It can be ordered on the Disney Plus show. The link will be active on Saturday. Oh my God, that's today. We missed it. We 100% missed it. 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yeah, they're gone by now. The hilts will also be available at Walt Disney World Resort and Disneyland parks, with the 3,500 units distributed between these locations and online. This means there's a very limited stock will be available at each location and will likely sell out soon. But hey, we're not going to tell you the odds. So I'm guessing they're already sold out by now. If I were a betting man, you already ordered yours? Oh, wow. What? That's crazy. Okay, so maybe there's a few left. So if you haven't checked that out, go check it out. But here's why this is crazy. Here's why this is important. We talked about Mara Jade getting her own TV show just 3-4 weeks ago. Now they're releasing her lightsaber at Disney parks and online. Lucasfilm directly. Now, this has happened in the past. Again, shout out to Ron and Nick from the Star Wars Jedi podcast. If you guys are not subscribed to them, I went on their podcast last night. Let me actually throw the link to that in the chat right now, because it was a great chat, obviously, as per usual. I was there. Obviously, it was a great chat. No, I'm kidding. Ron and Nick are awesome, and we were talking about this specifically because Nick brought up a great point that I want to show you guys. All right, yeah, here's the link. Share. Copy link. It was towards the end of the live stream, but well, Nick brought up a great point. This has happened before. They've released characters' stuff before they gave us more of that character. For example, the Anakin Skywalker Padawan lightsaber that he has in episode 2 was released shortly before the Kenobi show aired, where we saw a young Anakin with his Padawan lightsaber, his episode 2 lightsaber. Ki-Adi-Mundi's lightsaber got this whole big event months before the Acolyte, where Ki-Adi-Mundi just happens to appear. Is it possible that this whole Mara Jade lightsaber being created by Lucasfilm themselves at the Disney parks could be setting up a big old announcement at Star Wars Celebration for Mara Jade's return? Or I guess not really return, but a return. What do we think? Is it possible, and I'm actually going to put this up in a poll, that Mara Jade could maybe be in the Mandalorian Grogu movie? Maybe. Get her own show? Maybe. What do we think? Let's put it up in a poll. By the way, 84% of you still think that this Star Wars Underworld show could be made, and I agree with you. Do you want Mara Jade to come into canon? Yes or no? In any way. Her own show, in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, in Ahsoka Season 2, in anything. However she gets brought into canon. Do you want that? Because here's the crazy part of it. Here's the what if of it all. If Mara Jade is brought in and they use her the way that she's used in Legends, which is she's the Emperor's hand, eventually turns to the light side, falls in love with Luke Skywalker, they get married, they have kids. Maybe they don't have kids. But let's just say this. Let's say they get married. Right off the bat, Luke Skywalker's fall is already better. The big concern with the sequel trilogy is, well, there's a few of them, and somehow Palpatine returned, and Luke's exile. Those are two major issues that a lot of fans have with the sequel trilogy. Now, somehow Palpatine returns, I think, has already been explained pretty damn well over the last 6 years, with Project Necromancer in the Bad Batch and in the Mandalorian and in all the books, all the comics as well. But there's still some explanation to be done. With Luke's exile, there has to be way more to it than just sensing a bad dream from Ben Solo. Now, what if the problem is that his wife was seduced by the dark side, was drawn back to Palpatine after she came back to the light? She can hear Palpatine in her head or whatever it may be. Somehow she's contacted by Palpatine, like Ben Solo is, like Snoke is, or I guess Snoke is technically Palpatine, but whatever. You know what I mean. She is being seduced by Palpatine to the dark side right in front of Luke's eyes. And she either kills herself or somehow dies or tries to turns to the dark side and Luke has to kill her. Like, it could be something insane. And then when Ben Solo has the same thing happen, when he starts to have bad dreams and starts to hear Palpatine in his thoughts, then Luke goes crazy because it already happened to his wife, because it already happened before to the person that he loved the most in the galaxy. And that draws him insane or draws him into craziness and draws him into hiding. However you do it, however you go about it, having Mara Jade be a part of the story, be a part of Luke Skywalker's journey, it can only add and help the explanation to how Luke Skywalker ends up on Ahch-To as the old hermit that we see in The Last Jedi. It can only help, at least to me. So tell me in the chat, is it possible that Mara Jade could be coming to canon in any sort of way? Now, there's a possibility that she's not coming into canon in live action, but in animation. We talked about this as well. Star Wars Celebration is going to have an insane amount of announcements. A lot of them are going to be animated shows, whether it's a Tales of the Jedi Season 2 or Tales of the Empire Season 2 or Tales of the Sith or Tales of the whatever. Tell me in the chat, Tales of the blank. What do you want to see? But they're also going to have a multi-season big old Star Wars animated show. Because we went from the Clone Wars to Star Wars Rebels to the Bad Batch to the Tales stuff. But now we're in a lull. We have no new seasons of Star Wars animation. We got 7 of Clone Wars, 4 of Rebels, 3 of the Bad Batch. So we need the next multi-season show. Now, the rumors are that it could be a Hidden Path show, could be a Hera and Omega show, could be a Clone Rebellion show. But for me, still, the top of the top, the best on that list is a Luke Skywalker Jedi Temple show. And to have that show feature a character so important like a Mara Jade, it would be just like poetry, as it rhymes, as the great George Lucas once said. Because now you have the Clone Wars animated series, which, by the way, some fans think, oh, the Clone Wars isn't necessary for the prequel trilogy. It's not like the prequels are just good without it. They don't need the Clone Wars. However, I agree with you, but the Clone Wars add a specific character, one of the best characters in Star Wars ever, and that is Ahsoka Tano. And Ahsoka to Anakin is so important, but she's never once seen in a movie. So Anakin's fall to the dark side has a lot to do with Ahsoka's leaving the Jedi Order. Think about that. Anakin's fall to the dark side, which we only see in the movies, has a lot to do with his Padawan that we don't even know exists in the movies that leaves the Jedi Order in the Clone Wars. So you're telling me that the exact same thing can't happen with his son? His son who falls to Ahch-To, becomes an old hermit, falls from the light side, let's say, can't fall because of a wife that never appears in the movies? It would literally be like poetry. It rhymes. Ahsoka Tano never existed in the movies. Mara Jade never exists in the movies, but could exist in an animated series, first introduced in animation, is so important to the Skywalker character, to the Skywalker boy, and their death or leaving of Jedi Order, let's say, is what causes them to turn to the dark side or become an old hermit on Ahch-To. No, it's such a stretch. How is that a stretch? I literally haven't stretched anything yet. My arms are stretching right now. I didn't even do this. There's no stretching going on. There was zero stretch there. That was the least stretch I've ever done in my life. I didn't even stretch before I got on this live stream. Was that a stretch, chat? That seemed like the most logical thing I've ever said in my life. Tales of the Live sign out of order. Well, that would be a boring one. Tales of the Sith, that'd be good. Just wandered off to check out Mara's lightsaber, and the wooden box mentioned has the Empire symbol on it. Also, the new Jedi, or the New Order logo. New Order. Does it really? Hang on, let's check it out. Oh yeah, that's pretty cool. It's half the Empire and then half the Jedi Order. That's awesome. Can anybody translate this? What does this say? That's pretty cool because, of course, she starts off as the Emperor's hand and then goes over to become a Jedi. That'd be pretty wild. I know. So it seems to me that the same way you gave us a character like Ahsoka Tano to tell the story of Anakin, you could give us a character named Mara Jade to tell the story of Luke. Because Luke's story is not finished, much like Anakin's wasn't. And now it can be finished with the introduction of a new character, or I guess an old character. Mara Jade's a legacy character. An old character that means so much to the Skywalker boy, much like his father. So Ahsoka, who of course means so much to Anakin but doesn't exist in any of the movies, Mara Jade can be the same thing to Luke because she doesn't exist in the movies and means so much to Luke. Literally becomes his wife. That'd be awesome. That would be awesome. Yeah. KCI says, we had characters to tell Luke's story. Not to mention her before this would be nuts. We had characters to tell Luke's story. Not to mention her before would be nuts. Okay, well, not to mention Ahsoka, a character that fights alongside of Obi-Wan, Padme, is best friends with Padme, and is apprentice to Anakin in any of the movies would be nuts. To give us a 7-season series where Anakin Skywalker, the guy from the movies, has a Padawan? To have Padme be the best friend of that Padawan and Obi-Wan work alongside that Padawan for 3 years and not mention her once in a movie? That's nuts. It's the same thing that already happened. Do you think Star Wars Celebration will have Mara Jade's lightsaber? I have no idea. I don't know. Maybe. I have no clue. Swagger Like Us says, Rogue Squadrons is a great pitch. However, I don't think that Patty's creative vision was good for the project. Oh, I have no idea. Rogue Squadron is such a weird thing to me. I don't even know. Yeah. She didn't exist. That's a fair point. Yeah, there you go. And the coolest part about that is Ahsoka's one of the greatest characters of all time. At least in my personal opinion, in my professional opinion. Ahsoka's one of the greatest characters of all time. And she never existed before. And she's so integral to those characters, those main characters of the prequel trilogy. She is so important, but she never existed before. Ahsoka is pretty much the perfect example of how you can still introduce a character that's so important to main characters that doesn't even have to be on the screen, doesn't have to be on the big screen with them in the movies or even the shows. Like, she's just that cool and important in animation, but not in live action. Now she's important in live action, but back then she wasn't. And that's what I mean when I'm talking about a Luke Skywalker Jedi Temple show that's 5, 6, 7 seasons that introduces new characters. Not even Mara Jade. There could be Luke's apprentices, Luke's apprenti. Sure. Luke's Padawans, if you will be introduced to so many new characters, so many new Jedi that Luke trains, that eventually probably get slaughtered by Ben Solo, but maybe some of them survive. You have to think that not all of Luke's Padawans were at the Jedi Temple at that time. Maybe some of them were off doing something else. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, we'll get introduced to so many new characters. Yeah. What if the mother, Abeloth, takes over Mara and Luke has to kill her and then the Ben thing happens? That would be insane. Like, imagine that playing out on screen, though. Like, Luke having to overcome his love for this character that stands before him, which hopefully will have years and years and years of backstory already of that like 6 seasons of their love and their marriage and all that stuff. And then she gets corrupted by Palpatine in her head and she goes crazy or whatever it is. And she turns to the dark side again, or maybe she's being controlled by Palpatine, whatever it is. And Luke has to kill her, or maybe even Abeloth, like you said, and Luke has to kill her. That would be insane. I don't think he'll have to kill her, but she'll have to die anyway. Yeah. We desperately need that Luke Skywalker Jedi Temple show. We desperately do. I mean, it's a huge hole in the Star Wars timeline. When you look at the Star Wars timeline from The Phantom Menace to Rise of Skywalker, it's about 60 years, something like that. Most of it is filled out. You got the whole prequel era. In between the prequels and the originals is pretty filled out with all like the Bad Batch, Solo, Rogue One, Rebels, Andor, Kenobi, comics. Like, it's all very filled out in that 19-year gap. Then you have the original trilogy, then the Mandoverse, and even in there you have comics and stuff that fill that out. Then there's a huge hole, and that huge hole has pretty much nothing in it except for the Aftermath trilogy, and that's about it. And then you have the sequels to end it all off. So that massive hole of about 20 to 25 years needs to be filled in. And it will be filled in with Ahsoka Season 2 and Mando movies. But even still, moving past that, there's still probably 20, 15 years to fill in. There needs to be a huge Luke Skywalker Jedi Temple show, much like the Clone Wars, that tells the story across the galaxy of what's going on at the time. Luke training his Jedi Academy, Ben Solo's fall to the dark side, the First Order's rise to power, Palpatine pulling the strings on all of it, Luke Skywalker's fall, all that. It's just everything else is filled out. We're good everywhere else. It's just this massive hole in the middle of the story. Yeah. Yeah. Nah, Mara Jade divorces him and he will stay at his second Jedi Temple. Oh my God. That's crazy. The recent news, Mara Jade, Star Wars Underworld, etc., could be Lucasfilm getting feedback from the fans. Okay, Brett, I like this a lot. So sometimes, especially with companies like Marvel, they will purposefully leak something to see how the audience reacts. So let's say, for example, this Mara Jade stuff is them teasing at a possibility of maybe we'll do Mara Jade if the fans like this. So we'll release her lightsaber. If it does well, if fans start to sort of talk about it, if people are like, oh, we should get a Mara Jade show. Mara Jade coming to canon. Mara Jade should happen. They're looking for that. Because then they'll be like, okay, they have an interest. They want to see this character. And that'd be really, really cool. Yeah. Like if this is them putting out feelers, seeing if fans are going to react the way they want them to, that would be pretty awesome. I could see that happening for sure. Yeah. Snoke's origin story. Well, we're kind of getting glimpses at that in The Mandalorian. Like we see the cloning facility on Navarro and stuff like that. Yeah. So with that being said about them putting out feelers about Mara Jade and stuff like that, let's do it. I mean, let's Lucasfilm, if you're watching, and hopefully you are, let's do it. Let's get some Mara Jade up in here. Will we get a Mara Jade announcement at Star Wars Celebration? Oh, sorry, a Old Republic announcement at Star Wars Celebration. Interesting. I don't think so. I think this year's celebration is going to focus mostly on the Mandoverse in the movies, and I guess the Mandoverse is also animated stuff. But I think the Old Republic will be coming. It's just going to take some time. They're going to fill in that gap, that Mandoverse gap, that 20-year gap that I was just talking about, and then they'll probably switch over to the Old Republic. That would be my guess. Yeah. More Snoke would be hype. Yeah, it would. Absolutely, it would. Bring back Andy Serkis to do a little bit of a younger Snoke. That'd be great. I heard we're getting a Tales of the Sith about Darth Bane and Balin Skoll. That would be awesome. The only problem is I don't really think that Balin Skoll is a Sith. Yeah, no? I think Abeloth will have something to do with Shin Hati. What do you think? I've heard that. I mean, I think the Shin Hati of it all is that she kind of looks like Abeloth. She's got the whitish hair. She's got the dead stare. She just looks like Abeloth. And that would be pretty wild if she ended up being Abeloth, for sure. Okay, I ask this all the time, but I feel like I haven't in a while, so let's ask you guys. If there were to be a Tales of the Jedi Season 2 announced at Star Wars Celebration this year, what 2 Jedi would you want to see it be about? Now think about it, because the first season was about Ahsoka and Count Dooku. 2 very, very important characters, obviously. But they told a specific story that needed to be told. Ahsoka's time after Order 66, and then when she becomes Fulcrum in Star Wars Rebels. That needed to be told. She gets hunted down by Inquisitors, etc. Count Dooku, we got to see him fall to the dark side, kill Master Yaddle, change or delete Kamino from the archives, like those little cool details from the movies that we never actually got to see. So, what 2 characters would you want to see next? That's the question. 50 Thunder with a very generous $5 holla. I appreciate that, 50 Thunder. It says, yo, Mike, get that light fixed. You're still awesome, though. I appreciate that, 50 Thunder. I'm working on it, okay? I don't know what's taking so long. Hopefully this week. We'll see, though. We'll see. Sifo Dyas and Balin Skoll. That's actually a great one. Sifo Dyas and Balin Skoll, both of those characters have a story to be told. They both have something to offer, I guess. Sifo Dyas telling the story of his visions that he saw, going to the Jedi Order, them not listening, and then he goes to Kamino and does it himself. That would be awesome. Balin Skoll, of course, has the big mystery of what his backstory is from Ahsoka. So those would be 2 great options. Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Well, those 2 characters already have so much story told. I mean, yeah, maybe. We need to rewatch The Bad Batch to prepare for the Heir to the Empire animation of Luke finding archives in the Jedi texts and rebuilding the Jedi Order, etc. Okay. Plo Koon and Kit Fisto. Those would be 2 cool ones to see, but they don't really have like a plot hole, or at least something that needs to be explored, you know? Yeah. Balin seems to be the fan favorite because, I mean, he's so badass. Star Wars Order, what's up? No worries. Mace Windu would be cool if you're going to keep him alive, but I don't know. Balin Skoll, of course. Yeah. Chimere would be a good one, but he's a Sith for sure. It wouldn't be a Tales of the Jedi episode. Grogu. Absolutely Grogu, because Grogu, we don't know what happens to him. Like, as much as we know Keller and Beck saved him from the Jedi Temple, great, fantastic, whatever, we don't know what happens after that. Quinlan Voss would be a great one as well. Yeah. Oh, we can't have Sith? Well, we can have Sith, but that's a Tales of the Sith, you know? I'd love to see a Tales of the Sith, because Chimere and Plagueis would be a great one. Yeah. Mike has just fallen to the dark side. I've gone to the dark side since this live sign went out. Since this turned off, I've been fully dark side all the time, yeah. Yeah. Keller and Beck would be a good one, too. That would be a good one. Grogu's got a self-sacrifice? I don't think so. Grogu's the future. Grogu's going to be around for a long, long time. Hong Krell, no thank you. No thank you. Mace Windu in Oppo? Oppo would be cool. Yeah. Okay, since we got way too off topic, let's talk about something that's even more off topic. Actually, this is not that off topic. So let's talk about it a little bit. So I found this article right before the live stream started. I don't know what it's about really. Well, I know what it's about, but I don't know what's going on here. So let's read this together. We'll go through this together, okay? So I don't know what this is. That's the warning. I don't know what this is. If it's horrible, we'll figure that out together. Star Wars fans lose it as Knights of the Old Republic Disney Star Wars series leaks. And this is a bad kind of lose it, by the way. Okay, interesting. I have not seen anything about this, but let's take a look. We may be getting a Disney Plus series based on the 2003 BioWare RPG Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, if a recent report from the industry insider is to be believed. Rumors of TV series and films based off of the Knights of the Old Republic have been floating around online for years at this point. But the insider in question this time around does have a pretty impressive track record. The insider in question is Daniel Richtman. Okay, so a little bit of a who is Daniel Richtman? Like they mentioned here, he's a pretty good insider. He's had a great track record in the past. He has been wrong, but he is usually right. So with that, he revealed that the series is based off of the 2003 Star Wars game and is currently in production and set to drop on Disney Plus at some point in the future. Beyond what little Rickman revealed, we don't really know what much else other than that is set in the Knights of the Old Republic era. This is the first I'm hearing of any of this. So let's read on here. Regardless, at least this is something of a KOTOR fan that the KOTOR fan base would really love to see. Right? Well, no. At least according to the almost every comment on the thread detailing the leaks covered by this KOTOR subreddit, almost every TV adaptation of a video game gets butchered horribly, with the lore being flat out ignored by the writers, who usually are not at all fans of the game series, somebody commented. Now, this is somewhat true to an extent. I have not watched many of these video game adaptations, and sometimes when I do, I've never played the games before. However, I've seen some really good ones in recent years, I think. One being The Last of Us, which is getting a season 2 very soon. Fallout was a great one too. That was last year, I think. Last of Us, Fallout. What else is there? Well, there's bad ones I could think of too. Like they made the Borderlands movie, which I think has like a 0 on Rotten Tomatoes. I didn't even know that was possible. I don't know. I get the concern, but to hear the fact of seeing an Old Republic show, I mean, that would be absolutely insane. And if you have the right people behind it, it would be great. But let's find out. So somebody else commented, I hope KOTOR is never made as a series of any kind, okay? If Disney makes a live-action Revan saga, I might actually like Star Wars. Act like Star Wars never existed? What? Is this opposite day, chat? If Disney made a live-action Revan saga, I might actually act like Star Wars never even existed? Is Saturday, March 8th opposite day? Can somebody look that up for me? Chat? I feel like this is the exact opposite of what should be happening. No, we don't want that. It will be extremely disappointing. What is chat? Did I miss something here? Did this not say in Knights of the Old Republic show? Hang on, chat. I gotta sneeze. Sorry. Okay. I don't know. That sneeze just snuck up on me. Whew. Okay. Did this not say Knights of the Old Republic show? It did. These are not. This is. What? Something's not adding up here, chat. I don't know what it is, but these comments should not be what is happening when the report is that the Knights of the Old Republic. What? Okay. Well, let's keep reading, I guess. Oof. Jeez. Well, I suppose it's hard. We can hardly blame them. Okay, let's find out. Video game adaptations are notoriously quite terrible, although there are better ones like Sonic the Hedgehog films, not seen that, and The Last of Us, like I mentioned before, are anything to go by. Disney's track record isn't exactly the best when it comes to Star Wars, so I reckon there's a 50-50 chance that the KOTOR adaptation will be incredible, but maybe we shouldn't roll the dice on this one. I could literally not disagree with this more. If we're talking about the Knights of the Old Republic show, I don't understand why there's just this wild misconception out there about Disney Star Wars and how they're going to ruin everything. I don't get it. Those same people who are like, Disney Star Wars is going to ruin everything, and they're like, yeah, Andor Season 2 is coming. This is going to be the only good Star Wars project. That just means that you liked Andor Season 1, which, by the way, is a Disney Star Wars project. The Mandalorian? Pretty sure you like that, too. Rogue One? Oh, yeah, but that one's a good one. But all the other ones, yeah, oh, okay. Okay. And that's the Old Republic show sounds pretty damn good to me. I guess you're just on the wrong subreddit there. But to me, if this is anywhere close to true, that Daniel Rickman's reporting this, that's pretty damn wild. If a Knights of the Old Republic series is in the works now, then scratch what I said earlier. The Old Republic will be coming way sooner than I ever thought. I don't know if they're going to spread themselves this thin, however. Like, you're going to tell stories in the Mandoverse. You're going to tell stories in the post-sequel world with the Rey movie and the Sean Levy movie. You're going to tell stuff 25,000 years before everything with the Dawn of the Jedi. It'll be a very confusing time for normie Star Wars fans if you're also introducing a Knights of the Old Republic show. Try explaining to people where that takes place in the timeline. It's really funny because I have friends who aren't nearly as big of Star Wars nerds as, guys, look around me. Clearly it's something, but those friends are always like, oh, The Mandalorian, when does that take place? A lot of that has to do with the Baby Yoda of it all. People calling him Baby Yoda, so people think that Grogu is literally Baby Yoda, so they think it takes place hundreds of years before everything. I get that. But the confusion of when certain projects take place in the Star Wars timeline, that will become exponentially more difficult to explain when the Knights of the Old Republic show comes out or Dawn of the Jedi comes out. Because you're like, when does this take place? I think that was an issue with The Acolyte as well, but even still, it's more and more difficult to sort of explain when a show will take place. And if you're going to spread yourself to creating projects in like 7 different eras, the Dawn of the Jedi era, the Old Republic era, the Andor Season 2, I guess, Imperial era, to the New Republic era with the Mandoverse, to the post-sequel era. Like, you're in so many different places at once. And explaining that to the normie fan who's watching your Star Wars content would be pretty difficult to do. Yeah. Yes, and I see, of course, Keanu Reeves is being brought up as per usual when it comes to talking about the Old Republic. Keanu Reeves as Darth Revan has always been a very big dream cast for a lot of people. Now, the thing is, could you get away with doing Keanu? Maybe. But Keanu Reeves, I believe, is 60 years old. Somebody help me out in the chat. How old is Keanu Reeves? He's close to 60 if he's not 60 already. And you're going to tell what could be a Revan saga. Like, Revan is as big of a character, as deep of a character in terms of storytelling as an Anakin. And Anakin gets 6 movies and more and shows as well. So if you're going to do a Revan saga, 6 movies and shows, you can't really have a 60-year-old Keanu Reeves playing the character for 30 years because he'll be 90 by the time he's done. And Revan's supposed to be a lot younger when we first start his story, much like Anakin. So you could use 2 actors to play it, like an Obi-Wan situation where you get Obi-Wan Alec Guinness and then Obi-Wan's Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan. That's a possibility. But I feel like there's a way you can satisfy the fans' needs for Keanu Reeves as Revan, maybe in a holocron or some sort of, I don't know, something. But to make him Revan for a new story, for a show that you're going to tell about the Old Republic, it's a bad idea. Yeah. Keanu is 60? Okay, cool. Yeah. Just like Lars portraying Thrawn in Ahsoka wasn't a great choice. Love his voice as Thrawn, but not physically portraying the character in costume. It's a little bit like that, but not really, because honestly, I don't mind Lars' look as Thrawn. It's supposed to be an older version of Thrawn anyway. But yeah, he's big, he's blue, he's a meanie. The big blue meanie. 50 Thunder with a very generous $2 house says, Mike, get out, Chopper. There you go. Okay. So, with that being said, what do we think? Should a Knights of the Old Republic show be greenlit? Would you want to see a Knights of the Old Republic show? Or are you like these people in this article who are like, no! God, no! No!
Incorrect.
What do we think? Tell me in the chat. What do we think? Should we pull this up, actually? Let's pull it up. Why not? Why not? By the way, do you want Mara Jade to come into canon? 82% of you say yes, and I absolutely agree with you. Okay, so let's pull this up. Do you want a KOTOR series? Yes or no? On Disney Plus. Do you want a KOTOR series? Whoa. KOTOR movies would be great. Okay. Movies would be cool too. I think my thing is it's almost like they're going to go down the route of The Mandalorian. They had Mandalorian start as a Disney Plus show. They had it have success on Disney Plus for 3 seasons, and then they turned it into a movie. I think whatever they're going to do with the Old Republic era is going to be the same. They're going to have it they're going to tell the story first, and then we'll see it on the screen later. Jedi Geek says, do you think they will announce this at Star Wars Celebration? I don't know. I don't even know if this is really existing. I don't. That's the problem. Andrew says, I'd love to see something about a dark Jedi's story, about meeting the Sith at their home planet, and then indoctrinating their teachings. That would be pretty wild. What time period? Like Old Republic, you're saying? That'd be kind of cool. Yeah. That's crazy. Okay. Okay. Revan was a lady in my game. Well, yeah, you could choose if you wanted him to be a guy or a girl. That's true. That is true. Yeah. A dark series about Exegol would watch? That would be kind of cool. Well, that's what I'm saying. You could tell that story more so in a Luke Skywalker Jedi Temple show, but that's just me. So that was the news about that. Oh, I made a short about this the other day. This is just a little bit. We don't even have to. We'll just touch on this for a second. I made a short on this the other day, but have you guys seen this? A new Easter egg has been revealed from The Phantom Menace after 26 years. The Phantom Menace released in 1999, as much of you know, and it's now 2025, so 26 years ago. And we are just now still finding Easter eggs from this movie. That's insane. So take a look at this. when on Naboo, we see Padme and the others running through the hallways. And in the background, you can see a image of George Lucas. Now, this image, as you can see right there, George Lucas, the showrunner, not showrunner, sorry, one of the matte painters said this. I said, hey, Scott, look what I did. I put George in a shot. You magnify it to 400%, and you say, you know, they're going to think that you're going to have to get George's approval for that. And then, well, she goes to George, and George is a really quiet guy. He looks at it and says, oh, naughty, naughty. Yeah, but it's you. It's your face, he says there. And then he eventually says, okay, leave it in. So George Lucas is in The Phantom Menace. Now, this draws a lot of confusion with Star Wars fans. Yes, as 50 Thunder brings up, Baron Papanoida. So if we're talking about the Star Wars canon here, and this not just being a little fun Easter egg, well, why is a picture of Baron Papanoida on an archway in Naboo? And if it's not Baron, that means George Lucas plays two roles in Star Wars. Okay, but in all seriousness, this is just sort of a fun little Easter egg that a matte painter put in the background with George Lucas on the archway. But the craziest part about this is nobody caught this. After 26 years, nobody caught this. So your pal Joe brings up a great point. What else did we miss? It makes me want to go just watch the prequel trilogy again and just go frame by frame. Like that's what I want. But it makes you think, what else did we miss? I don't know. It's pretty wild. I mean, to think that we've missed a Easter egg for 26 years. Like, there's so many Easter eggs in Star Wars, especially the prequel trilogy and the Clone Wars and stuff. But I feel like a lot of them have been found. To find new ones, even now, is absolutely insane. So that was a little pretty cool thing that I saw yesterday. Wanted to let you guys know. Another thing here, somebody brought this up. I think it was Brent brought this up at the beginning of the stream. So I wanted to pull it up as well. A little bit of more news when it comes to Galaxy's Edge. The new Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run adventure features the Mandalorian and Grogu. So this will happen at the Galaxy Edge parks, at Disney parks. It debut on May 22nd, 2026, just in time for the new movie. It's the same release date as the new movie, which is pretty interesting. I wonder what this is going to be about. Probably have to do with the movie itself. But you can see right here in the concept art, you got Grogu and Din Djarin flying with a jetpack with TIE fighters. TIE fighters being blown up. But you're in the Millennium Falcon. So, if we're reading too far into this, which we always do, would this mean that the Millennium Falcon's going to be in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie? Chat? Like, not to say I'm reading too much into this or anything, of course. But, what do we think? Here comes Han, Chewie, Leia, Luke, Lando, and Mara. I don't think so. I really don't think that Star Wars is going to go the route of bringing Luke, Leia, and Han in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. Will they all be in a movie eventually? Maybe. Probably in a later Mandoverse movie. But to have them all be in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie would be absolutely insane. It would steal the show insane. And that's why I don't think they'll do it. Din and Grogu, I think, can handle their own. But what if, just for a little fun, Han and Chewie showed up in the Millennium Falcon? I don't know. It's a little weird. The weirdest part about it is that this new Smuggler Run adventure will start on the same day that the movie debuts, May 22nd, 2026. So I think that's a little bit of a coincidence, if I do say so myself. It makes us believe that maybe something strange is going on here. I don't know. It's a little weird, but that's pretty cool. So that happens next year at Galaxy's Edge. But there was something else. We got a first look at, or I guess, first sort of look at the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. As these droids, which are now currently at Galaxy's Edge, are going to be in the movie. They're like BD1 battle or BD1, not battle droids, BD1 droids, but they're a little bit different, a little bit more clunky, I guess. And this is going to be in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. This looks like the Adelphi base from Mando Season 3. But yeah, so this is in the Mando Grogu movie. And where was the other thing? Hang on. This also shows the Anzellans being back in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. We knew this was going to happen. There was a teaser trailer that was shown to the people at Star Wars D23 back in August of last year. And there was Anzellans in that teaser trailer. But this just confirms it even more. The Anzellans were in Season 3 of Mando, so it's not that crazy to think that they'll be in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. But this is more confirmation of that. Yeah. So there you have it. That's the pretty crazy news. Yeah. Okay, we do have some news about Daisy Ridley in the Rey movie, but before we get to that, let me end this poll. Mike, a little bit off topic, but what do you feel about the Brad Marchand trade? That is a little bit off topic. I will say I'm not that big of a hockey guy, more of a basketball guy. But having said that, I mean, what are you gonna do? He's been around for so long. It's they had to make a change because they've been losing so much. But what are you gonna do? Okay, do you want an Old Republic trilogy? Old Republic series? Sorry, 88% of you said yes, and I probably agree with you with that. Okay, let's do this. I think the Old Republic characters at the end will set up a conflict for Dave Filoni's first movie, and it will be the beginning of a new trilogy. Well, I think The Mandalorian and Grogu is the beginning of a new trilogy, but yeah. Only sport worth watching is pickleball? Okay. Yeah. Who do I think should replace Kathleen Kennedy? I think it should be a combo. I think it should be co-presidents, Dave Filoni and some business mind. I think Emma Watts was a good option when we were looking at the options, or maybe even I don't know, anybody, I guess. But I think if you're going to put Dave Filoni or even Jon Favreau in that role, they need a business mind next to them so they can be the creative side of things. If not, then Kevin Feige. Yeah. Okay, but with that, let's talk about some Rey movie before we get on out of here. So Daisy Ridley has bad news about more Star Wars sequel actors coming back. So with Daisy Ridley set to return to the Star Wars franchise and director Charmin Obed-Chinoy's new Jedi Order movie, fans have been wondering if any Ridley sequel trilogy co-stars will be joining her for her next big adventure in the galaxy far, far away. Based on the actress's latest comments, it sounds like there might not be any reunions with Finn or Poe Dameron. This is bad. This is really, really, really bad. Finn is a necessity when it comes to the Rey movie, like an absolute necessity. 100%. But Poe Dameron would be nice as well. So, with that being said, Mike, don't judge me. I'm leaving the channel. Wait, what? What are you saying? Oh, for the pickleball comment? You're good. Don't worry about it. Based on the actress's latest comment, okay. In an interview with Backstage, Ridley openly discussed the biggest fears about returning to Star Wars after so many years away. In her response, she mentioned that this time around, she'll be working with different actors, which presents a new set of challenges for her to figure out. Obviously, there's going to be new actors. Duh. It's a brand new movie. But let's keep going. The first 3 films we did fairly close together in a grand scheme of things. So one of the things is I do remember How to Be Rey, because she didn't do it all that long ago. It has been a while, and some time has passed in the Star Wars world. 15 years to be exact when this movie takes place. So there's a lot of questions about what happened in that time, both for me and for the character. That's in and of itself feels like a challenge. And then there's the fact that I'll be working with different actors and different filmmakers, which brings up different things. And that's always progressive, I suppose, because it's someone else's interpretation, which we always get people's interpretations when it comes to this. But goes into this, blah, blah, blah. George Nolfi's now writing it, blah, 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 blah. So far, Ridley has is the only cast member to be confirmed for New Jedi Order. Naomi Aki, who portrayed Jaina in 2019's Rise of Skywalker, has expressed interest in returning to the franchise. However, she has not been contacted by the studio. That was the Lando's daughter type character. It's important to note that Daisy Ridley doesn't definitively shut the door on John Boyega and Oscar Isaac coming back. Even if Finn and Poe are featured in some capacity, New Jedi Order would still feature several franchise newcomers, as, of course, the story of Rey attempts to lead a new generation of Jedi. So there'll be, of course, new actors and actresses. As the story... Oh, I just read that. That said, it sounds like there's a strong chance that Rey will be spending most of her time with fresh faces. That will be a disappointment for some fans. Of course, people wanting to see more of those sequel characters, especially, for me, Finn. But tell me in the chat. I mean, this makes it, to me, feel like the Rey movie is not going to be a Rey movie in general. She's going to be that Obi-Wan Kenobi type character where she's going to train the next Jedi, and the next Jedi will be the main characters. So she's the Obi-Wan Kenobi to the Luke, and we don't know who the Luke is, but the Luke is going to be next. So with that being said, tell me in the chat, do you think still that Finn and Poe will be in this movie? I think they will. They just won't have the big role that we think they will. I think we'll learn that Finn's now a Jedi, but he won't have that big of a role. Like, I think this is going to be the beginning of a new chapter, new stories for other characters. But that's just me. You think Poe will be in it? Interesting. I don't know about Finn. Okay. I think it actually vice versa, but yeah. Yeah. Also, I don't know, John, if you don't know, Jon Favreau has already said that he has reasons for the script of the, has seasons 4 for the script of The Mandalorian ready. So obviously there's going to be another season. Why wouldn't there be a trilogy? Why would there be a trilogy? Yeah, there's a little bit of a misconception on that whole thing. The season 4 script of The Mandalorian has been turned into the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. So Mando is likely to not return to the small screen, The Mandalorian getting a 4th season. But I don't know. We'll see. Will Rey die? I don't know if she'll die, at least in the first movie, but her death will probably be at some point. Yeah. No, I don't think she'll die in the first movie, but maybe if there's going to be a trilogy, then yeah. Yeah. Oh, was there another thing here? No, we read that already. Okay, never mind. Never mind, chat. All right, before we get on out of here, I know we haven't really talked about it much today, but Andor Season 2 is, what, 45 days away? Something like that? 40-something days away? Somebody in the chat help me out. 40-something days away. So we're getting closer and closer. In this week, it being Saturday, the biggest thing of the week, I mean, maybe other than this George Lucas news and Mara Jade stuff, is the Andor Season 2 special look trailer. 69. Okay, nice. I know it's not 69, Lee. God. But having said that, the biggest thing of this week was that trailer, and it was pretty damn awesome. So I think we should end the stream off right by watching that trailer. Let's not forget. Actually, let's just watch it, okay? Let's just watch it.
broadcast if you can hear me.
We are not who we were when we started.
Imperial ships are already landing.
We need to speak out. We need to stand up.
Is there no one who can help us?
We need a pilot. A soldier.
Everything I did for the rebellion.
Revolutionary movements are spontaneously happening all over the galaxy. How those come together is the stuff of our story.
If season 1 laid the track, then season 2 is the juggernaut.
The Empire cannot win.
Well, they haven't won yet.
We're building a real army.
The rebellion's everywhere now.
Galaxy of opportunities.
The insurgents have weapons at this point.
We're counting on it.
These 12 episodes are going to take us over the next 4 years into Rogue One. The complexity of the show, the possibilities of the show. It has to be all in.
Nobody's allowed in here.
You're thinking like a thief.
I'm thinking like a soldier.
Think like a leader.
The size and scale of this production is unparalleled. The sets and the costumes are breathtaking.
Everyone does the homework. Everyone takes the time, and you can tell.
Proceed.
This is it. This is what you live for.
It's human, it's incredibly truthful, and it just happens to be in a galaxy far, far away.
It's the urgency of the situation. Not palpable.
Lock it down!
If we do not stand together, we will be crushed.
This is the end. Have no expectations.
This is the end. Have no expectations. Hang on, I missed the super chat. 1 second. 50 Thunder with a very generous $5 holla says, "Don't go away. Us Star Wars fans need you." Thank you. Well, I appreciate that, 50 Thunder. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not leaving. Okay, but let's let's go back to this. So, some craziness that, of course, has come up over the last couple days.
We are not who we were when we started.
Is this? Boop, 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 boop. This in the top right corner is Padme's head dress helmet thing that she wears in episode 1 as the queen of Naboo. That right there. Pretty wild. Yeah, you have that. Okay. Then you have Cassian with the sniper on Gorman. What the hell is he up to? I don't know.
Everything I did for the rebellion.
This being the ship that Vader pulled out of the sky in Kenobi is absolutely insane. It's the ship that he pulls out and just tears to shreds in the Kenobi series. It's obviously not the exact same one, but it's the same model, the same one from Kenobi, possibly a connection to the Hidden Path, possibly a connection to Leia Organa, possibly a connection to who knows what, but it's absolutely insane.
Revolutionary movements are spontaneously happening all over the galaxy. How those come together is the stuff of our story.
If season 1 laid the track, then season 2 is the juggernaut.
If season 1 laid the track, then season 2 is the juggernaut. I really think that the second season will be better than the first, which is crazy when you think about it, because season 1 is so damn good. But I think season 2 could be better. We could really have on our hands here the greatest trilogy of all time. Galen Erso. I think Galen Erso can be in the second season. I just don't know when, or how, for that matter.
The Empire cannot win.
Well, they haven't won yet.
We're building a real army.
The rebellion's everywhere now.
Galaxy of opportunities.
The insurgents have weapons.
It's weird to me that Dedra here has Cyril's mom behind her. Now, again, I was on Star Wars Jedi podcast last night, and we were talking about this. She's wearing all black. When we usually see Dedra, she's wearing all white. and Cyril's mom is behind her. Is it possible that this is Cyril's funeral? Justin says Cal Kestis is the most likely Jedi to show up because he's friends with Saw Gerrera. Interesting. Never thought of it that way. So is it possible this is Cyril's funeral? That would be insane.
Insurgents have weapons at this point.
We're counting on it.
These 12 episodes are going to take us over the next 4 years.
Not palpable.
Lock it down!
This is that planet, that fieldy planet from above. People think it could be Lethal. It doesn't look like it from out here. And I just don't think it is, but we'll see.
We will be crushed.
This is the end.
In K2SL, of course, we're going to get a lot more.
Have no expectations.
This dagger is so strange to me. It's like 2 frames. It's like, why is it here? You know? What's the purpose of this? Why show this in a trailer for the show? You know? Either way, this show's going to be awesome. I can't freaking wait. 40-something days till it airs, and I can't freaking wait, chat. And I'm sure you can't either, but I do have to get on out of here. We've just passed the 2-hour mark. But let me, first of all, huge thank you to 50 Thunder for the very generous super chats and gifted memberships. Lee, Mind of Lucas, Darth Plagueis Lives, I, Haja, another Mike who loves Star Wars, Darth Plagueis Lives, and the Galactic Cantina for all your memberships and super chats. I appreciate it so much more than you will ever know. This was one of the craziest live streams ever. I mean, we're talking about a freaking George Lucas TV show that cost $2 billion with 60 scripts ready to go and a Mara Jade show. Like, that's crazy. So this was awesome. We got, it's going to be crazy watch parties for Andor Season 2. Absolutely. We got a members-only live stream tomorrow. Watch out for a short later tonight and a short later tomorrow and all that fun stuff. And, yeah. Until then, may the force be with you. Oh, smash a freaking like on the stream if you have not already. How many likes do we have? Am I going to be upset? How many likes, chat? 83? Okay, that's not terrible. It's not terrible. But I appreciate it. Until next time, may the force be with you. Always. Oh, yeah. What a great stream. What a great show. You guys are the absolute best. I appreciate you all so much more than you will ever know. Smash a freaking like on the stream if you have not already. I appreciate the hearts. I really, really do. I really, really do. But until next time, I hope you have a great rest of your evening, great rest of your lives, and good night, everybody.